Well, folks, the final pieces are falling into place for America to go full Germany 1939, and I am feeling great. Welcome to another edition of... Hi, my name's Andy, and I'm using my small platform to talk about some overlooked reasons why in 2025 we're living through a remix of the worst parts of the 20th century, like it was done by a socio-political DJ Hegemony after drinking a 2-liter of ketamine. I don't know how you do ketamine. Look, I didn't move to Hollywood to be doing this. I thought I'd move here and Jack Warner would pick me out of a Schwab's drugstore. 10 minutes later, I'd be eating his ass and signed to a 12-picture deal starring opposite Myrna Loy. Films with titles like Cut a Rug, Sourpuss, and That Dame Got Moxie. Instead, I'm here to tell you why rich people shouldn't exist. Most people will say billionaires shouldn't exist, sure. I'd probably draw the line a lot lower down the old economic chain, but I'm not here to quibble about boundaries or really, I don't even want to make an economic argument. You can read Marx or Gramsci or Stuart Hall for that. My argument is purely existential. Rich people shouldn't exist because by dint of their existence, they deform reality. Anyone powerful does, but the wealthy are specifically unhindered by democracy. Think of reality like a trampoline, and most of us are just small marbles on the surface, barely making an indentation. But the rich and powerful are like bowling balls dropped on the surface, pulling us all in towards them. And while that example did win me an award at the 2023 Metaphor Awards, it's a bit abstract, so let me explain. But first, today's video is sponsored by Philip Morris's new light cigarette, Chemo Smooths. Chemo Smooths. We're all done pretending, right? Anyway, I once worked for this very wealthy, what's a polite way of saying this? A shithouse nuts woman. And one day she thought we were spending too much on office supplies, so she banned Post-it notes. Okay? The very next day, someone made literally one error, and she demanded that we now have to print out every single change we make in the database, which amounted to hundreds of pages every day. The office was absolute chaos. That's just one small example. But this freak was making bank because she had found a niche to exploit and was going to town, which would have been a great film title with Myrna Loy. A lot of people think if you're wealthy, that means you're smart. I think Elon Musk disproves that, but that's what some people will say. I personally never thought that, but I did think at one time that at least you had to be cunning to be wealthy, a snake in the grass. Now I don't even think that. Some rich people are smart, some aren't, some are cunning, some aren't, but I think the only real selection factor for acquiring wealth is a willingness to exploit others. That's it. And at the end of the day, a capitalist economy rewards exploitation. So right now, we're living in the perfect petri dish for psychopathy. By the way, Philip Morris packs over 300 carcinogens into every delicious puff of Chemo Smooths. Asbestos, microplastics, and even molecules taken straight from malignant baboon tumors. Chemo Smooths, get cancer in style! So to go back to the beginning, not the eating Jack Warner's ass part, wealthy people deform reality because they have no constraints on their behavior. Whatever their whims are, they can just follow them. No Post-it notes one day because we're wasting money. Needlessly printing out hundreds of pages the next day, even though that costs more than 10,000 Post-it notes. Whatever. It's not rational. If a billionaire said he'd give you $10,000 to shave your pubes and make a wig for your dog out of them, it's weird, but most people would probably do it. It's not the worst way to make 10 grand. Now, what if that billionaire owned the company you work for and said to do the same thing or he'd take away your family's health insurance? A little less whimsical, right? A little more sinister. Not just weird. Now it's unsettling and angering. But maybe that billionaire buys a newspaper or a bunch of newspapers or a bunch of newspapers and a cable channel. And every day there's op-eds and news segments about how pube dog wigs are good for the economy. And shitheads online are screaming at you that you should be grateful to these billionaires for forcing you to make pube dog wigs. And it's literally insane. But because the only selection factor for acquiring large amounts of wealth is the willingness to exploit others, a system like ours naturally filters amoral psychos to the top where they are free to follow their whims. Some of those may be rational, some quietly demented, many absolutely batshit deranged. but their wealth allows them to force the rest of us to follow what they want, no matter how moronic it is. And much of it is moronic. And I'll say this. Even if we lived in a system that rewarded honesty and intelligence, you're still allowing a handful of people to dictate the way billions of others live. And that's sick and crazy. Now, if you'll excuse me, Jack Warner promised me a bit part in the new Cary Grant film, and all I have to do is